Welcome to Just Say It. Learn real English through conversations and practice. Easy English, real conversations, practice and repeat. Just say it.
Hello, and welcome back to Just Say It, the English podcast for beginners and everyday learners. Today, we're learning how to invite someone and make plans in English. You'll hear phrases like, would you like to? Let's. And polite ways to say yes or no. Repeat after us, practice with our mini dialogues, and you'll be planning fun activities in English in no time. Let's get started. It's really quite something how English has become this essential global connector. I mean, think about it. Pretty much wherever you go, whatever field you're in, knowing English feels, well, less like a bonus and more like a basic requirement these days. It's actually kind of staggering to think that maybe, a quarter of the whole world speaks English? To some degree, anyway. And that's not just, a statistic. It really highlights how vital it is in our super connected world, affecting everything from business deals to just, making friends.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that massive global reach, it brings up a really crucial point. It's not just about work or study. It really digs deep into our ability to connect, person to person. So when we talk about getting good at speaking, we're not just talking about drilling grammar rules or memorizing endless vocabulary lists. No, it's about giving ourselves the tools to genuinely interact, to understand others, and importantly, to be understood by people from all sorts of different backgrounds. And this ability to communicate, it's incredibly powerful. It opens up so many doors, better jobs, maybe studying abroad, or simply building real friendships across cultures. Because fundamentally, communication relies heavily on actually speaking, engaging in those back and forth conversations.
Absolutely. That global role is, it's undeniable. But, even with all the effort like we see in places like Ecuador, where they start English really early in schools, lots of learners, especially beginners, they still hit some major roadblocks. Our source material really digs into these common hurdles. What are some of the big difficulties that keep popping up for learners?
That's such a key question. Because the intention is there, definitely. But the research points to several consistent challenges that get in the way of real fluency. First off, there's this big issue, often kind of overlooked, of just not enough actual practice. Learners might, spend ages with textbooks or listening, but they don't get enough chances to actively use the language. In real time, in conversations, both in class and, importantly, outside of it. It's like trying to learn swimming by just reading about it. You've got to jump in the water eventually.
Right. You need the practical application.
Exactly. Then second, there's this widespread feeling that English is just hard, really difficult. And that idea, that perception, it can build a huge psychological wall. It leads to anxiety, being afraid to make mistakes, holding back from actually speaking. If you think something's impossible, you're probably not going to try very hard, right?
Makes sense. The fear factor.
Precisely. And third, there's often a lack of good, easy-to-access resources, especially resources designed to get you speaking, not just passively absorbing information. And this just makes the first two problems worse. What the research really highlights is the contrast with old school methods, memorization drills, these traditional ways. They're still common, but they often just don't lead to genuine language skill or, being able to communicate effectively and spontaneously. You might be able to recite verb conjugations, sure, but can you naturally invite someone out for coffee? Or respond if they say yes, or maybe even more tricky, say no politely. That's the real world stuff that pure memorization often misses.
Okay, so if just memorizing stuff isn't the answer to fluency, what is? This deep dive today, we're going to explore a really powerful approach, backed by research that focuses on real communication. It's called communicative language teaching, or CLT. You can think of this chat as a kind of shortcut to understanding how to tackle those challenges we just talked about. Moving beyond just knowing about English to actually, using it, we're focusing on the practical side today.
Exactly right. And CLT, it's not just some passing fad in teaching. It's a solid framework. It's built on principles specifically designed to develop communication skills that actually work in the real world. It's about learning to do things with the language. So throughout this deep dive, we'll unpack how these principles boost what teachers call talking time, especially for A1 beginners people right at the start of their journey. And you'll see how these ideas apply directly to everyday things, like, making plans and inviting people, helping you move from just knowing words to actually using them to connect, organize things, and really participate in life using English.
All right, let's dig into the CLT framework then. It sounds like the core of learning to actually speak. Our sources, they mention experts like Richards and Brandel and outline 8 key principles that guide language learning in, real situations. So how do these principles really change the game? How do they shift us away from just, say, memorizing lists or doing endless grammar drills.
That's a great way to put it, changing the game. Because they really are transformative. Each principle builds on this idea of active, meaningful learning in context. It makes acquiring language feel more, well, natural and purposeful. Let's break them down. First up, task-based instruction. This basically means making real-world tasks the center of the lesson. So instead of just learning grammar rules on their own, you use them while trying to achieve something specific. Like if you're learning invitations, the task isn't just memorize phrases, it's successfully invite your friend to a party. You're using the language to get something done.
Okay, learning by doing, essentially.
Well, that's actually the second principle. Learning by doing. It sounds simple, but it's key. Real learning, especially for language, it happens when you're actively engaged in authentic tasks. It sticks with you longer because you're participating, not just listening. You don't just hear how to invite someone, you actually practice inviting someone. Maybe you mess up, learn from it, try again.
Makes sense. Active participation.
Third is rich input. This just stresses how vital it is to get lots of varied language input. Different speakers, different accents, different situations. Think about how kids learn their first language. They're just soaked in it, right? Hearing all sorts of voices and ways of talking. CLT tries to kind of replicate that rich environment, giving you a broader foundation.
Right, like hearing different accents and speeds.
Exactly. Fourth, meaningful and comprehensible input. This is crucial. It's not just about lots of input, but input that actually makes sense to you and feels relevant. Teachers use tricks like repetition, gestures, maybe pictures, simplifying things to help you connect the language to real life. So it's not just noise, it's understandable. Like if you're learning directions, it's not random words, it's phrases you'd actually use, maybe with a map to help.
Okay, understandable and relevant. Got it.
Fifth, cooperative and collaborative learning. This highlights the huge benefits of working together. Group work, pair work, talking with a partner, figuring things out together. It's about learning with others, negotiating meaning, maybe even gently correcting each other. It builds a sense of, we're in this together.
Like practicing conversations with a classmate.
Precisely. Sixth, focus on form in contexts. This means teaching grammar and vocabulary, yes, but always within a real communication situation. So instead of just drilling verb tenses from a list, you learn how they work in a conversation about, say, what you did last weekend or what you want to do next weekend. Grammar becomes a tool for expressing yourself, not just a set of rules.
So grammar serves the conversation, not the other way around.
You got it. Seventh, error corrective feedback. This highlights how important feedback is, getting timely, helpful pointers to adjust your understanding and improve accuracy. It's not about being scared of mistakes, but about seeing them as learning opportunities. Feedback can come from the teacher or, really effectively, from a classmate you're working with.
Okay, feedback helps you adjust.
And finally, number 8 is affective factors. This just acknowledges that how you feel matters, your attitude, your motivation, any anxiety you have, it all impacts your learning. So creating a supportive, encouraging environment where you feel safe to take risks, try things out, make mistakes, that's critical. It's about the whole person, not just the brain learning words. Together, these 8 principles really paint a picture of how effective language learning happens.
That really does sound like a much more holistic and, practical approach than just textbooks. So the big question then is, how do these principles actually look in action? What kinds of activities does CLT use to get learners talking and, really communicating?
Ah, yes, the activities. That's where the theory meets practice. And CLT has a whole toolbox designed for interaction. One really common type is information gap activities. Picture this. You and a partner have different pieces of information needed to complete a task. Maybe you have a schedule of events, but not the times, and your partner knows their own free times. You have to talk, ask questions, share your info to figure out when you can both go to an event. See, it forces real communication.
Right, because neither person has all the answers alone.
Exactly. Then there are jigsaw activities. These are kind of like info gaps, but often with more people or more complex info. You might divide a group, give each smaller group one piece of a story or one aspect of a topic. Then they have to come back together and share their piece to understand the whole picture. It requires a lot of explaining, listening, checking, understanding.
Okay, like putting together a puzzle collaboratively.
Precisely. Another category is task completion activities. These often involve puzzles, games, maybe solving a problem, where the main way to succeed is by using the target language. The game or puzzle itself is designed so you must communicate to finish it. Maybe describing something for your partner to draw or figuring out a logic puzzle together.
So the language use is built into the task itself.
You got it. And then, of course, a classic, role plays. These are fantastic. You give students different roles like customer and shop assistant or two friends planning a trip, and they act out the conversation. Usually done in pairs or small groups so everyone gets a chance to speak. It lets you practice real-world scenarios like inviting someone or responding in a safe space. You can try out the phrases, maybe even swap roles.
Yeah, role-playing feels very direct for practicing conversations.
It really is. And all these activities, infogaps, jigsaws, tasks, role plays, they offer huge benefits. You get exposed to lots of natural language. You produce way more language yourself because you have to participate. It boosts motivation because it feels relevant and often fun. And it gives you tons of practice building fluency. It's all about putting language into action right away.
Okay, that gives us a really solid picture of the how behind learning to speak. Now let's get super practical. Our focus today is mastering invitations and making plans. And you mentioned something interesting earlier that native speakers often kind of set the stage before the actual invitation. What are some of those subtle ways to do that? How can we lead into an invitation so it feels more natural, maybe less abrupt?
Yes, that's a great point about natural flow. It's often about creating a little context, making the invitation seem less out of the blue. One way is just signaling you're available or maybe even a bit bored. You might say something like, I've actually got a few days off next week, or maybe I'm at a bit of a loose end this weekend. That phrase, at a loose end, it just means you don't have specific plans, maybe looking for something to do. It subtly opens the door for a suggestion.
Ah, okay. Hinting that you're free.
Exactly. Or you could mention something you've already done that makes getting together sound appealing. Like, oh, I just baked a massive cake, or I just put on a fresh pot of coffee. It makes the idea of dropping by seem instantly more attractive.
This really works on me.
Yeah. Another tactic is to mention others might be there, making it feel more casual, less like a formal one-on-one thing. We're having a few friends around on Saturday night, for example. Sounds relaxed, low pressure. Or you could highlight a nice setting. The weather's supposed to be amazing this weekend, or my garden's looking really lovely right now. It paints a nice picture.
Setting the scene, basically.
Pretty much. And one more subtle way is using the past continuous to suggest an idea you've already been thinking about. Like, I was thinking of having a barbecue, or we were thinking of maybe throwing a little party. It makes it sound less like a sudden demand on their time and more like you're inviting them into an idea already in progress. It feels more collaborative. It's all about that gentle lead-in.
Okay, those are really useful tips for easing into it, but eventually you have to actually ask. So what are the core phrases? The reliable, polite ways to directly invite someone to do something, or maybe specifically invite them to your place. Let's get those essential phrases down.
Absolutely. Time for the direct approach. These are your bread and butter invitation phrases. Probably the most common and versatile is would you like to? It's polite, clear, works in most situations. Its slightly more informal cousin is do you want to? Both are followed by the base form of the verb. Let's try some.
Okay, like, would you like to join me for lunch?
Perfect. Or, do you want to go to the beach this weekend?
Would you like to catch a movie sometime?
Exactly. Now, for a slightly more casual feel, especially for activities or food, you can use do you feel like? Or the very common do you fancy? These are usually followed by the ing form, the gerund.
Okay, so, do you feel like watching a movie tonight?
Yep. Yeah. Or, do you fancy going to the movies?
Do you fancy grabbing a coffee?
Perfect. Another really common one, especially when suggesting something you'll do together, is why don't we? It feels like a suggestion, quite inclusive.
Right, like, why don't we check out that new restaurant?
Or, why don't we just order pizza tonight? Then for a slightly softer, more indirect, and often very friendly approach, especially maybe inviting someone over, you can use, I was wondering if you'd like to. Just softens it a bit, makes it feel less demanding.
Like, I was wondering if you'd like to come over for dinner on Friday.
Exactly. Or, I was wondering if you'd like to meet up for a chat sometime. And sometimes you might want to check if they're even free before you fully invite them. You could say something like,
I was just calling to see if you're free tonight.
Yeah. Or, I was just wondering if you might like to catch a movie later, if you're around. Now, specifically for inviting someone to your home, informally, we often use phrasal verbs like come over or come round. They sound much more natural than just visit. Instead of my house or my home, we often say to mine or to ours, or my place or our place.
Ah, okay. So, would you like to come over to mine later?
Perfect. Or, do you fancy coming round to our place for a game night? And finally, inviting someone to join you in doing something often uses come with, like,
Would you like to come to the concert with me?
or do you want to come for a walk with us?
Want to come over for a coffee with me and Sarah?
Exactly. So that gives you a really good range, from quite direct to more casual and indirect options, depending on who you're talking to in the situation. Lots to choose from.
That's a fantastic list. Really covers a lot of ground. But okay, flipping the script a bit. Sometimes you are the one looking for company, or you need to pop over to someone's place. Is there a way to sort of invite yourself without sounding pushy or awkward? And similarly, how do you invite someone to stay overnight? These feel a bit more delicate.
They definitely can be, yes. Politeness and giving the other person an easy out is key here. When you're kind of inviting yourself, you want to frame it like a question or a very light suggestion. Make it sound easy for them to say, actually, now's not a good time. So you could try, is it okay if I pop around? Pop around sounds very quick and casual.
Right, like not a long visit.
Exactly. Or can I drop in for a while? Similar vibe, brief, maybe unplanned.
Okay.
Another good one is, how about I swing by your way? Maybe adding, not my way home. Or, since I'll be in the area. This suggests it's convenient for you, not a special trip just for them, which feels less burdensome. Swing by is nice and casual too.
Ah, that's clever, making it sound convenient.
These phrases just soften it right down. Now, for inviting someone to stay overnight at your place, you could be pretty direct but warm. Phrases like, would you like to stay over? Or, would you like to sleep over? Are very common.
Or just, do you want to stay the night?
Yep, simple and clear. Or framed as a suggestion, why don't you sleep over? Especially if it's getting late or they live far away.
Okay.
And a slightly more formal but very welcoming phrase, particularly if they're visiting from out of town, is, we'd be more than happy to put you up. Put someone up means provide accommodation.
Put you up. Got it. Good phrase to know.
Yeah, it's a nice one. So those cover those slightly trickier invitation situations.
Okay, great. We've covered asking, inviting ourselves, offering a place to stay.
Yes.
Now let's talk about responding. When you get an invitation you're genuinely happy about, how do you say yes, clearly and enthusiastically in English? Show you're really pleased.
Oh, absolutely. Accepting enthusiastically is always nice for the person who invited you. You've got loads of options here, too, depending on how excited you are. You can go for simple and positive.
I'd love to.
Classic. Always good. Or,
That'd be great.
yeah, or just.
Sure.
Or add a bit more flavor.
That sounds great, or fantastic, or wonderful.
Exactly. A slightly more casual one is,
Why not? Meaning, yeah, sounds good.
or just as strong.
Absolutely.
And then, to really show you're looking forward to it, you can add phrases like,
It's a date, usually for one-on-one plans.
yeah, confirms it strongly.
Or
Looking forward to it.
very common,
Yeah.
very polite, or more informal.
Can't wait.
Shows real eagerness and simply.
I'll see you there.
Let's do a quick practice. Imagine I say, hey, do you fancy coming around for pizza on Friday?
Oh, I'd love to. That sounds great. Looking forward to it.
Perfect. See? Clear acceptance plus enthusiasm. It makes the inviter feel good too.
Right. But life isn't always straightforward, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you really want to go, but maybe you're not totally sure you can make it on time or even at all.
Yeah.
How do you say, I'll try, without being flaky or rude? It's a tricky balance, managing expectations. It really is. This is where conditional acceptance comes in, being honest but polite. If you think you might be just a little late, you could be specific.
I'll aim for 7, but I might be, a teeny bit late.
Exactly. Or, I can't promise I'll be there right on the dot at 7. On the dot means exactly at that time. It manages expectations up front.
Okay, being specific about lateness.
Yeah. If the uncertainty is more general, like you just don't know your schedule yet, modal verbs help.
I might be able to make it. Sounds like maybe 50-50.
Or slightly more optimistic. I should be able to make it. Sounds more likely, like you expect to.
Okay.
You can also add a condition. That should be okay, unless something comes up at work.
Right.
Or, that sounds good as long as the traffic isn't too bad. Gives a reason for the uncertainty.
Right. Adding the unless or as long as.
And to show you want to be there, even if unsure, you can add,
I'll do my best to be there.
or I'll try to make it. Shows good intention.
Yeah.
And if the plan is further off, like next month, it's totally normal to say you'll confirm later.
I'll let you know closer to the time.
Or, can I get back to you in a few days? Meaning, contact you later with a definite answer.
Or more formally, we'll be in touch to confirm everything.
Let's try again. Are you free for coffee tomorrow morning around 10?
Ooh, 10 might be tricky. I should be able to make it, but can I let you know first thing tomorrow?
Perfect. Clear, polite, manages expectations. That's the way.
Okay, so once the yes or maybe is established, the next step is often locking down the details. Time and place. How do you suggest a time or check if a time works for the other person without sounding demanding?
Good point. Nailing down the specifics is crucial. You want to sound collaborative here. To suggest or check a time, polite questions are best.
Will you be free around 6?
Or, very common and friendly, how does 6 o'clock sound? Invites their opinion.
Or more directly asking about their convenience. Would 6 o'clock be okay for you?
If their suggestion doesn't work for you and you need to propose something else, do it gently.
6 is a bit early for me. What about if I drop around a bit later on? Drop around casual visit.
Or could I maybe pop around about 7 instead? Pop around, also casual.
Okay, suggesting alternatives politely.
And when a time does work, confirm clearly.
Yep, 4 o'clock works for me.
Or 6 o'clock sounds great.
If you really need to ask for a change, be polite.
Actually, could we possibly make it a bit later? Say 7.3 shows flexibility while stating your need.
Let's practice confirming. Shall we meet at the cafe at 3 p.m.?
3 p.m. works for me. Perfect.
Exactly. Smooth scheduling.
Now, the really delicate one. Declining an invitation, saying no. It's so important to do this politely without hurting feelings or seeming rude. How can we say no gracefully in English? This causes a lot of anxiety for learners, I think.
Absolutely. It's a major point of politeness, and getting it right is key. The general pattern in English is often 1. Start positive, acknowledge the invitation. 2. Use but. 3. Give a brief, polite reason. This softens the blow. So starting points. I'd love to, but that's a great start. Shows you appreciate the thought.
Exactly. It implies I wish I could. Or more direct, but still polite.
I'm afraid I can't. Or I'm sorry I can't. Expresses regret.
If it's more about how you feel, not a prior commitment.
Oh, thanks, but I'm not really in the mood for a big party tonight.
Or, I don't really feel like going out, actually.
Or informally, I'm not really up for it tonight, sorry. Meaning, don't have the energy desire.
Or a softer refusal. I think I'd better not, I'm really tired. Suggests it's wiser for you to decline. You can make it even softer by combining phrases.
Oh, I'm really sorry, but I don't think I'll be able to make it then, I'm afraid.
Doubling up on regret.
Or if the day itself is impossible.
I'm afraid I can't do Saturday at all.
Or combining appreciation and a reason. I'd love to, but I've already got plans, I'm afraid.
And having a few common, polite excuses ready is helpful.
I wish I could, but I already have plans.
I'd like to, but I have to get home early.
I'd love to, but I'm really busy with work studying right now.
Sorry, I can't. I have to pick up my children from school then. Let's try. Want to go hiking this Saturday?
Oh, I'd love to normally, but I'm afraid I've already got plans this Saturday. Maybe another time.
Perfect decline. Polite, gives a reason, vague is fine, and even suggests future possibility. And remember that politeness principle. Often, longer, more indirect refusals feel more considerate because they show you've thought about it and you're cushioning the no.
That makes sense. Cushioning the no. Good way to think about it. But what if you do want to see the person just not do the thing they suggested, or you can't make that time but you're free later? How do you pivot smoothly from declining their idea to suggesting your own alternative?
Ah, the pivot. Yes, that's a great way to keep the connection going. It shows you value spending time with them, even if this specific plan doesn't work. The trick is, politely decline the first idea, maybe with a soft reason, then immediately follow up with your alternative suggestion. So first, express why the original plan isn't ideal for you.
I'm not really into horror movies, to be honest.
Or, I don't really feel like going to a crowded bar tonight.
I'm not really in the mood for a big meal right now.
Or, actually, I'm a bit too tired to go out dancing. And then, straight away, offer your alternative.
Why don't we watch a comedy at my place instead?
How about we find a quiet cafe for a chat?
Would you mind if we just stayed in and ordered takeaway?
Maybe we could just go for a quiet drink somewhere nearby. Let's try that pivot. Hey, feel like going bowling tonight.
Oh, bowling. I'm not really up for bowling tonight, actually. But hey, why don't we catch that new exhibit at the gallery instead? I've been wanting to see it.
Brilliant. See?
Yeah.
Polite decline to bowling. Immediate positive alternative. Keeps the ball rolling.
Keeps the ball rolling.
Connect.
Okay, and one last scenario here. What if you genuinely can't meet up now or can't commit to anything specific, but you want to make it clear you do want to see them eventually? How do you give that kind of open invitation for the future?
The open invitation. Yes, it's a lovely warm gesture. It says, let's definitely connect, just maybe not right now, or let's figure it out later. It keeps the door open without pressure. Here are some really common ways to phrase it.
Why don't you come around sometime? Very common, very casual.
Exactly. It's relaxed, no specific date needed. Or,
You're always welcome here. A general warm statement.
yeah, lovely and hospitable. Or giving them the control.
Feel free to pop around whenever you like. Super flexible for them.
Pop round. Again, implying casual. And a nice idiom.
Don't be a stranger.
Right. It's a friendly way of saying, please keep in touch and visit again soon.
Yeah.
These phrases maintain that warmth and connection, signaling future intent without needing immediate plans. Very useful.
This has been incredibly practical, thank you. But it's not just about lists of phrases, is it? It's about how we learn and practice them effectively. Let's bring it back to that research you mentioned, with the A1 level students in Ecuador using CLT. What did that study actually find about improving their speaking time and how they felt about these methods?
Yes, shifting back to the learning process is key. And that research offers really valuable insights, especially because it's directly from beginners. What stood out was the overwhelmingly positive attitude the students had towards the CLT activities. On their surveys, asking about different aspects, the average rating was consistently high, around 4.6 out of 5. This strongly suggests that, for the most part, they found these communicative methods genuinely helpful and even enjoyable.
4.6 out of 5, that's pretty high consensus.
It really is. For instance, when asked if working with a partner helped their speaking skills, the average was 4.6, with most saying it helped always, often, or sometimes. Clear thumbs up for collaboration. Similarly, getting feedback from their partner also averaged 4.6. They generally found it moderately to highly helpful, even if a couple of individuals didn't as much. Even for role plays, which can feel a bit exposing, the perceived boost to their speaking skills averaged 4.6. So this consistent positive feedback from the learners themselves really backs up the effectiveness of the CLT approach for building confidence and actual speaking practice.
That's really compelling, especially from beginners. The study seemed to really focus on pair work, role plays, and using real-life situations, core CLT stuff.
Yeah.
What specific benefits did the students talk about? Can you share some of their actual words, perhaps?
Absolutely. The qualitative data, their own words, really paints the picture. The analysis found several clear themes about the positive impact. Regarding pair work, they felt it improved collaboration skills. One student literally said, "Working with a partner helps me come up with better ideas." Another mentioned sharing different ideas. Someone else said, "Working together makes it easier to get stuff done." So practical teamwork skills.
Right, learning to work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And huge for language learning. They said things like, "Working with a partner helps me practice my language skills." And this is great. I learn from my partner and they learn from me. That mutual learning. Also, talking with a partner helps me understand the language better. Discussion clarifies things.
Yeah, explaining it to someone else helps you understand it too.
Totally. Then, increased confidence. This is massive. Quotes like, "Collaborating with a partner boosts my confidence in speaking," and "Partner work empowers me to be bolder." And crucially, "I feel better about making mistakes when I'm with someone else." That reduced fear is so important for practice.
Definitely. Less pressure.
And also, social skills. They found it fun. "I like working with a partner because it's fun to chat while we work and making connections. When I work with someone else, I make a new friend." Even learning conversational basics like how to take turns when speaking.
Wow, so benefits beyond just the language itself.
For sure. And then for real-life situations and materials, the relevance was huge. Real life helps me learn. Learning is fun with real-life stuff. Real things help me understand better. It connected learning to their actual lives.
Made it feel less abstract.
Exactly. It boosted engagement. I find myself feeling engaged. Activities based on real-life scenarios often keep me motivated. They were drawn in. And interest and participation. Real-life situations capture my interest and motivate my participation. They wanted to join in more.
Makes sense. If it feels useful, you're more invested.
And critically, perception of progress. They felt they were improving. I feel significant progress when using real-life situations. Real-life contexts contribute to a noticeable improvement. That feeling of getting better is a huge motivator. So yeah, hearing it in their own words really drives home how effective these CLT approaches felt to them.
That's incredibly powerful testimony. But as always, people are different. The study did mention that not every single student responded identically, right? What did the researchers learn from the students who maybe preferred other ways of learning? Does it just highlight that variety is important?
That's a really important nuance to pick up on. Effective teaching isn't one size fits all. While the vast majority were positive, the study honestly reported those few exceptions, which is good research practice. For pair work, yeah, there were literally 2 students out of the group who said they preferred working alone. One said, I get distracted in pairs, and the other, I feel confident alone. Which is totally valid, right? Some people just focus better individually. Doesn't mean pair work isn't effective for most, but it shows you need different strategies in the mix to cater to everyone.
Right, accommodate different learning styles or personalities.
Exactly. And similarly, for real-life situations, a couple of students were less keen. One said something like, real-life stuff felt kind of boring and I enjoy games more. Another just preferred games. Again, it just reinforces that variety is key. Real-life context is great for many, but some learners might respond better to games or more structured exercises or something else entirely at different times.
So keep the activities varied.
Precisely. But one thing that did seem consistently valuable, regardless of preference for activity type, was error-corrective feedback. The study highlighted that getting feedback, especially from a partner during these activities, generally helped improve speaking skills. That process of trying something, getting feedback, adjusting it, aligns perfectly with CLT and seems beneficial across the board for building accuracy, even if students have different preferences for how they practice.
Okay, so feedback is pretty universally helpful. That makes sense. Wow, this has been such a rich deep dive. From the big picture of English globally down to specific phrases and how to actually learn them effectively. Let's try and quickly sum up the main takeaways.
Okay, quick recap. We started with English as this global language, but highlighted the real challenges learners face: lack of practice, fear, maybe not enough good resources. We saw that just memorizing isn't the key, but active communication is, which led us to communicative language teaching, CLT. We unpacked its core principles like learning by doing, using tasks, getting rich input, collaborating, focusing on meaning, getting feedback, and remembering the affective or emotional side. Then we got really practical with phrases for inviting people, setting the stage, direct invitations like, would you like to, or do you fancy? Inviting yourself politely, offering a place to stay.
And responding too. How to say an enthusiastic yes, like, I'd love to. How to manage uncertainty with, I might be able to, or I'll try. Cool. How to nail down specifics like, how to six sound, who, and crucially, how to decline politely using structures like, I'd love to, but. And maybe pivoting to an alternative suggestion like, why don't we? Plus the friendly, open invitation like, come round sometime.
Exactly. And then we connected it all back to that research, showing how these CLT activities, pair work, role plays, real-life scenarios, really do help learners, especially beginners, gain confidence and improve their actual speaking time, even acknowledging that variety and good feedback are important for everyone. The bottom line really is, language learning is about doing. Using the language actively, in meaningful ways, in real interactions.
And understanding the social side, the politeness, that's just as vital as knowing the words themselves. It's about connecting, truly communicating.
Couldn't agree more. It's building that communicative competence step by step, conversation by conversation.
Next time you want to plan something, just say it. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Who will you invite to your next English practice session? See you in the next episode of Just Say It.